It's a Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast. We're going to be building a starting lineup for Ohio State dating back since 2012 when Urban Meyer took over the team. Let's get into it.
ATL Jacob, ATL Jacob.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast. We bring unique insight and analysis behind your favorite teams at the collegiate and professional levels. I'm your host, Chase Shantz. To my right, I actually have Matt Ricketts. Matt, what's going on with you?
What's up, dude? I'm ready to get to it. I've been excited all week for this show here. I got a new haircut for the audience here.
There we go. Yeah. I like it.
It up finally. So, I'm ready to rock and roll. Brady, what's up, man?
Not too much, man. Just ready to go, just like you said. I did not get a new haircut, same thing as I've, had, but it wouldn't be as major of a change as Mr. Ricketts up to my right with that shorter hair now. So that's about it. I'm just ready to roll. I like this. I like this show topic. It really brings out the juices in the brain.
Yeah, it brings up the creativity side. And one thing, how often do you guys get your haircuts? I'm just asking from a perspective. Matt, how often do you get your haircut? I mean, obviously, I know you
this
got a
will
lot
be the
off,
first
but
time I've got my haircut in 2 years. So
I couldn't do that. Oh my god.
Really?
I couldn't go that long without a haircut. Shit. Oh man. Brady, what? Because I don't ever notice anything different with yours, Brady. So how often do you actually go get a haircut?
Usually about once every 6 weeks.
Damn, I wish it was something like that for myself. I gotta go every 2 weeks, man. I gotta get a line up because my hairline is
Jeez.
2 weeks, man. I gotta, what I'm saying? I gotta feel fresh, at least two or 3 weeks.
I haven't got one.
Man.
Well, not right now because I've been wearing this hat. It's not, but
Yeah.
usually it just kind of.
I tell you though, COVID, man, that was a rough time though, because you talking about the barbers were closed and all. People had to shave their heads sometime. I mean, my dad was up there shaving his head all the time during COVID. I had to worry about my hairline and all that stuff. Just not getting into the barber was tough for 2 months, and I'm so glad that that's way over and way gone.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, man, I couldn't last more than 2 weeks without getting a haircut. So that's one thing. But a fresh topic on our mind is talking about the Ohio State starting lineup build since 2012. We're actually going to start things off with Matt. So what we're going to do is you're going to build a team with a quarterback, a running back, 3 receivers, a tight end, and your offensive line. And then on defense, you'll have 4 D linemen, 3 linebackers, and then your traditional 2 corners and 2 safeties. Matt, we're going to get things started off with you, and we're going to put your list on the screen.
Here we come, baby. We're on. Okay, yeah, so we're going to start with the offensive side of the ball here. Justin Fields, quarterback. Ezekiel Elliott at running back. Receivers, we've had a whole shit ton of good ones here over the past, 10 or 11 years, but these are the 3 I went with. Garrett Wilson, JSN, and Marvin Harrison Jr. And at tight end, I got Jeremy Ruckert. Left tackle, Paris Johnson Jr., top 10 pick right there this couple weeks ago there. Left guard, Billy Price. Center, Josh Myers. Right guard, Wyatt Davis. Right tackle, Taylor Decker. Go ahead and switch over to the defensive side of the ball here. To be honest, defensive line-wise, we've had so many good defensive ends. I think you could probably make 4 defensive ends, 5 defensive ends, and have a great defensive line. You know what I mean? Put guys on the inside. But I went with the traditional positions here. Joey at 1 defensive end, Davon Hamilton at 1 defensive tackle, Adolphus, who by the way just got paid by the Jaguars. Congrats to Davon there for his second deal there. Adolphus Washington at the other tackle, and Chase Young, the greatest defensive end in the history of the sport, at the other defensive end. Linebackers here, I did make a mistake. Okay, I went through and I really totally, it doesn't happen very often for me, but I totally overlooked somebody. You did. Unfortunately, we tried to change the graphic before the show started. We weren't able to do that, but no shot at Pete Werner here. No shot at Pete Werner. He was a very good player. but Darren Lee must be on this list, okay? So I made a mistake there. I'd like to go ahead and correct that. So go ahead and disregard Pete Werner here. However, he would be my fourth, okay? So Raekwon McMillan in the middle. We're going to put Darren Lee and Ryan Shazier, even though Ryan could play in the middle too, whatever. Those three backers right there, I mean, those are some killers right there, okay? At corner, we have had tons of good corners, especially in Urban's era as well. But I went with Jeff Okudah and Marshon Lattimore. And at safety, Malik Hooker and Von Bell. That is my Urban Meyer Ryan Day era right here, starting lineup.
Before I ask any questions off of this, obviously Jake Cure checking in from South Korea, man. Congrats. Keep doing your thing over there. The journey is going to be long, but, we are, very proud of you and all that over there in the Navy in South Korea, man.
Just, Amen. Congratulations, Jake.
Prayers and everything, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Keep grinding. Don't let Kim Jong-un come over there and get you, okay?
Hey, Jake, hey, good luck, Jake. I echo what Matt said about Kim Jong-un, but be safe out there. Have a good time. Make the best out of it.
Yes, sir. All right, Matt. So let me just add something off of the list. All right, I like the list. I like both you guys' list. I mean, there was a couple of things that were really close in both categories, but with you being a former offensive coordinator, if you were looking at the receivers of Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and Marvin Harrison Jr., walking three of them out there, I mean, that's scary. The fact that they were all three on the same team at one point is absolutely ridiculous to think about. Now, let me ask this, though. Who would see the most single coverage out of the three?
The most single coverage out of the three? I would say, God, that's a tough question. To be honest with you, I think they would get I think they would be doubling Marvin a lot and leaving Garrett. To be honest with you, they might not even be able to double anybody. It might just be single across the board just because they're all so good. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if they would be leaning one towards the other. I think maybe you would get Jackson in the slot more. Whoever was a slot would get a lot of help from, the over-the-top safety or the outside back or whatever coming out on the edge. But to be honest with you, I think defenses would have to all guard them man-to-man or play zone just because you can't give one or the other so much help because they're all just so good. The one that you don't give help to is going to torch you either way. So does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I would approach it if I was a defensive coordinator because I don't know how you stop it. You can't stop it. They're that good.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you kind of blindfold and be like, we'll double these two and leave this guy single coverage or whatever you want to, or just go single across the board like you said. I mean, I don't know. It's
that's
a tough thing.
I feel
it's almost a death sentence for a defense.
If you favor one side or the other, you're just fucked. I mean, they're just going to torch you. So I think you just got to play as straight up defense as you can and hope that your dudes are as good as their dudes, which they're not. So you know what I mean?
Exactly. Now let me go to the defense. Adolphus Washington, one of the OGs, back to the Urban days. What made you put him on this list?
Dude, I'm going to be honest with you. He's just freaky. He was an athletic dude on the inside. And I just remember watching the 14-15 team. I mean, dude, with Michael Bennett as well, another guy. I just feel like Adolphus Washington was really, really athletic. He was a great, now don't get me wrong, he could take up multiple blockers on the inside, which is what you want, your interior defensive lineman to do as well. But he could also get after the quarterback a little bit from the inside. He was just a very, very athletic dude, very versatile. So that's kind of why I put him in there, to be honest with you. Now, there's don't get me wrong, there's a lot of other guys you could put. Me and Brady were talking about it. Draymond Jones before. That was another guy that you could have considered. I even considered Haskell Garrett just because he was a freak, especially in the 2020 season when we went to the Natty. Tommy Togiai was also really good. There's tons of guys you could have put in there. I just feel like I took into consideration maybe a little bit when I'm building my defensive line right there, the guys you play with. So, like, the chemistry-wise, you got Davon Hamilton, who played with Chase Young, so they know how to play their gap sounds off of each other. Then you got Joey and Adolphus, who also played with each other as well. So there's a little bit of, you know what I mean? There's a little bit of a chemistry thing going on there that I think gets kind of overlooked, I guess, because you got to know it's a gap sound. You know, playing defensive line is really a gap game. You know what I mean? You're responsible for a gap. You got to know what gap you're taking on and this, that, or the other. So I felt like, you know, Adolphus performed well enough and played with Joey Bosa enough. I just feel like it was a great 4 right there as a defensive line.
Yeah, I like the list, Matt. We'll see what Brady thinks about it here as we shift over to his thing. Brady, read down the list and I'll ask a couple questions about it, and then we'll look at some differing opinions. All right, you got the
Yeah, quarterback, I have Justin Fields. At running back, I have Zeke Elliott. Wide receivers, I've got Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Marvin Harrison Jr. Tight end, I got Nick Vannett. Left tackle, Paris Johnson. Left guard, Pat Elflein. Center, Billy Price. Right guard, Wyatt Davis. Right tackle, Taylor Decker. D-line, I've got Draymond Jones at tackle. Joey Bosa at tackle, pass rushing tackle, if you want to call it. Nick Bosa at the end, and then Chase Young at the end. At linebacker, we've got Darren Lee, Pete Werner, and Ryan Shazier. Corner, I have Jeff Okudah and Denzel Ward. And then at safety, I have Malik Hooker and Von Bell.
So with this, talking about the running back, how big of a gap is it between Ezekiel Elliott and J.K. Dobbins?
It's somewhat sizable when you're looking at their career, but single season wise, they've got pretty similar top seasons. JK's might have even been a little bit more. It was more productive. It's hard to say better, just looking at what Zeke did. But when you look at careers, Zeke had 2 seasons of just absolute dominance where he was, you know, arguably the best running back in college football, definitely top 3, and then obviously went really high in the draft, top 4 in the draft. And just the things he did, the final 3 games of the 2014 season against. So first of all, Wisconsin was a great defense, and he ran for like 220, I believe, against them. You know, had a huge game. Then against Alabama, by far the best defense in the country and the best run defense of the Nick Saban era. Had not allowed a running back to rush for over 80 yards, I believe, that year. And he ran for over 85 on 1 carry to break the game open. And then obviously against Oregon in the championship, he ran for 246 and 3 touchdowns. And then he followed it up with a huge season where he scored over 20 touchdowns, had a huge 200-yard performance in the game, and then a massive performance against Notre Dame in that Fiesta Bowl. Just a great legendary running back. But that's not to take away from J.K. Dobbins, who, like you said, would have been the second options. If we did a 2 RB set, which some people do in these type of things, I would have had J.K. as my other guy. But
Brady, as we all know, we're not like other people. We,
we're
going pretty, like
this is. And like I said,
pretty.
By the way, guys,
I know what you're saying.
I just wanted to tell the viewers, it was my fault we did the 1 RB. I mean, I think that's the best way to do it. I was
you're talking about building an offense.
I was totally cool with going.
I think it's the better way to do
it. Make it a tough decision. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I did it. I think it's the better way to do it.
I think it's the best way to do it too.
I think it's cool.
This right here is probably the set most teams have right here.
Exactly. That's what it's been the last 10 years, I'd say.
That's what I'm saying. The offensive personnel formation right here, this is probably what most snaps of football are snapped out of right here.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about college. We're talking just straight up football. 11 personnel. We're talking about, obviously, there's some high schools like, I'm not going to name a high school that doesn't run 11 personnel. I'm not going to do that to you, Brady. But yeah, like, I'm talking about like college and NFL. I mean, the most is 11 personnel with 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 back. So, that's the thing there. Let me ask you one more thing. Interesting that you have, and I'm not going to complain about it, but, Joey Bosa as an interior rusher. What led you to that?
So it was one of those things where obviously I was just going to pick between the 3, pick the 2 I think would work best together. Then I thought about it and I was like, My next defensive tackle would probably be either Davon Hamilton, Adolphus Washington, Haskell Garrett, one of those guys. I really think Joey Bosa would do just as good of a job in the interior as those guys. And I know because he was a big dude. Like, he's not like a skinny defensive end. He's a thicker one. Also a great pass rusher, but he was an incredible run stopper. So I think putting him there, think he would be great at rushing the passer, plugging the gaps. And it's obviously untraditional, but I think that's the way I do it. I also considered Zach Harrison for this spot because Zach Harrison is a monster. Like, I think he might end up playing defensive tackle in the NFL and being really good at it because I think he's a monster. So it was between Joey Bosa. To be honest, my final spot was between Joey and Zach Harrison. I decided I was going that big defensive end route. But Davon Hamilton, where Matt went, was also a good option. And the reason I had Draymond in there was just because he was just a stud.
All right. That's Brady's list right there. We'll take that off the screen, and we'll get into some some differences in opinion. What I'll do is I'll give you guys a minute to just say why you have this person in this spot over the other person, and then the next person will go and they'll talk about the opposition. So let's get into that. So Nick Vannett versus Jeremy Ruckert. Brady, you had Vannett, I believe, right?
I had Vannett.
All right. Start us off. Why Nick Vannett over Jeremy Ruckert? For 1 minute. All right. Time starts now.
Yeah, the reason I picked Nick Vannett over Jeremy Ruckert. So this was a close one. I think these are them two, and then Hireman were my best three tight ends of this era. All good players. And the reason I went with Vannett partially was I feel like he was big time in the national title game and in the whole run in general. And then he came back and was the starter the next year and played well. He didn't get targeted much, but that was more because of the way we play. We don't throw the ball to the tight end. Everyone knows it. It's just kind of how it is. Like, and unless we have to, there's times where we try to sneak it in there, like the Clemson game with Jeremy. So it was obviously between these two, and it's nothing that Jeremy did wrong. It's just I think Nick Vannett, they're so close. They even both went in the third round, I think. Like they both, which is pretty high for a tight end. They both went in the same spot, and they're both currently on rosters. And Nick Vannett was a starter for sure for a couple of years at least.
Yeah, wrap it up.
That's all I got.
Yep, there you go. Cool. All right, right at a minute. Also, don't forget our roots when we were actually doing Instagram lives, like right over there, and we were doing that. Remember the Clemson, the Clemson Ohio State game? And I think you said the tight ends would be a big part of this.
I did.
Game. And it goes to Jeremy Ruckert. I'll pass it up to Matt. Matt, you got a minute. What do you have?
I just took him, like Brady said, I think it was very close. I really do. I don't think it's a huge gap, I guess. I just think Ruckert was more productive. I will say that. I think we probably targeted him a little bit more in Ryan's offense than in Urban's when he was there. So I guess and I will say this, Ruckert had some big moments too. The Wisconsin game, the one-handed catch was just crazy. And what was that, 19, I believe?
Yeah.
And then obviously the Clemson game against and the Sugar Bowl down there in the COVID year. So he had, and Nick Vannett copped the touchdown in the Oregon game and the front pylon, front quarter of the end zone. So don't get me wrong, Nick Vannett, I mean, these are clearly the top two tight ends of this era. I don't even think it's close. But I just think Jeremy was a little bit more productive. I don't think you could go wrong with either one. I would take Jeremy. He was higher recruited. I think he's probably more talented too. I think, NFL wise, I just think he was the higher recruit. So, I think he's just more of a talented guy. So I'll take Jeremy.
All right. I mean, fair shake either way with those two. Next topic, interior defensive line. I didn't put the guys out there because you guys had, different ones reshuffled. Matt had 2 defensive tackles. Brady had 1 D tackle and 3 D ends, but reshuffled things around. So we'll look at, why did you pick this defensive line, Matt? I'll just go with that.
Well, to be honest with you, Brady probably has the better defensive line. I just was trying to stay true to the positions.
Okay.
But, you know what I mean? I would have, if you were telling me to pick 3 or pick 4, those 3 would have been in there. Chase, both, and then both the Bosas. I mean, clearly. So I just tried to stay traditional with the four guys or the position wise, 2 DNs, 2 tackles. Yep. But I also tried to, like I said, the chemistry I think is when you're playing defense or even offensive line, playing off of each other is important, especially on the defensive side of ball. When you guys are running stunts up front, pass rushing, doing things like that, it's important to be able to play off of each other. Yeah. It's something that's very overlooked unless you actually play the position. You wouldn't really, you know what I mean? Just watching it on TV, like there's chemistry issues, things like that. So that's why I kind of married it up with we were lucky to have so many talented dudes that you can marry it up. So Joey and Adolphus, and then you have Davon and Chase. So that was kind of my thinking behind it, I guess. But like I said, if I had to pick a best 4, those 3 guys would have clearly been in it. It was just kind of I tried to stay true to the positions.
Stay true to the positions. Brady, what best available at it. Yeah. Brady, I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, but who would you have put if you had a second defensive tackle in place? And who would you have taken off your list from the 3 defensive ends?
Oh.
Put you on the spot.
I would have replaced Joey, I guess. Like since I had him at D tackle, I would just replaced him, and then I would have plugged in Davon Hamilton. Probably, you would go with the big Davon Hamilton, absolute tank, strongest guy at the combine the year he was there. Also got paid big, and then Draymond Jones, who also got probably even bigger contract, I think.
Yeah,
for the Seahawks. He as well. He's more of he's big and strong too, but he's also quick, a good pass rush. He's a freaky player. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was Von Miller said he's shocked he wasn't a first-round pick because I think he was a second-round pick and had a chance of being a first-rounder. But he's doing really good, and he was really good in college too. So that's why I went with him. I just thought he was a freak, and really sucks that we missed out on the Draymond, Nick, Bosa, and Chase Young year, which we were supposed to have until Nick stabbed him.
Could you imagine, dude? So fucking
crazy,
dude. Nick Bosa might have had every record. Those the way he started that season was. I'm gonna bring up this real quick. It'll only take a second. Right. The Rutgers offensive tackle said before the game against 2018, because that was the second game, he said, "Last year I locked up Nick Bosa," and then Nick Bosa said, "I've never won against you in my life."
I remember that.
On the first play of the game, they were lined up, and Nick Bosa ran him over on purpose and sacked the quarterback.
Oh my gosh. Shoot. Yeah, that would have been just straight scary hours right there for whoever they lined up against. Now let's go to linebacker. Raekwon McMillan versus Pete Werner. All right, that's the difference. You both had Darren Lee and Ryan Shazier in your guys' thing. Matt, actually, I'll go with Brady right here. Brady, give your case for Pete Werner.
Yeah, I went with Pete here. It was close. I mean, this one was more fit. Like I think. I was trying to build, like Matt was kind of doing the D line. I was trying to do with the linebackers. I would want more of like an outside linebacker at this spot, based on my other nominations. I would rather have like Darren and Ryan Shazier of more of like my middle linebackers, and then as my outside linebacker, I want Pete Werner because I thought he was good in coverage, very good tackler. He was just always reliable, especially after that 2019 season. 2019 and 2020, he was great and. I think he was one of the leading tacklers in the NFL this year. Not sure exactly where on that list, but I know at one point he was even leading in tackles. So he's doing really good. Backing that up, Raekwon as well was really good. It's not against him, but I think I went with Pete more for fit.
All right, Matt, give me Raekwon's.
I did go with the old Quan. To be honest with you, I think Pete is very worthy of the spot as well. I just thought when I looked at it, I always thought when Ryan Shazier was playing that he was so fast and athletic, he could play outside as well as inside. And then in the league, he played more inside, I guess. So the way I built it was I wanted him and Darren Lee on the outside, speed guys on the outside, and then Raekwon on the inside. I always looked at Pete as more of the outside backer. So I guess by default, I kind of went Pete was the third best outside backer. So he got kind of left off the list, I guess. You get what I'm saying? Raekwon in the middle. So that's why, I mean, you can make an argument that Pete was the better player in college. I mean, they were both good. You know what I mean? So it's not really an indictment of Pete or a praise to Raekwon. I just think Raekwon, obviously, he's just a true middle backer. Like, you know what I mean? Ryan Shazier and Darren Lee can play outside and inside. So that's kind of why I went with that.
Yep. Fit, scheme, rhyming, whatever you want to do with your front seven is what you guys have been doing when you came to building these rosters. Now, let's do this, all right? This is probably the biggest one that we have. Denzel Ward versus Marshon Lattimore. When you talk about cornerback, we've had a couple, we had a cornerback on the show, and Gary and Conley. Talk about you're on an island. You are, 1v1 with the guy. Sometimes there's help over the top with the safety, who we also have on the show, Typus Powell. It's 1v1 with the guy, with the receiver. And you're on an island. It's best versus best. It's, that's really what it comes down to. Matt, you have Marshon Lattimore. What's your reasoning behind it?
Was he not Defensive Player of the Year? Am I crazy? Was he not one of the defensive, in the running for Defensive Player of the Year in college or in the NFL?
Dude, I don't
remember.
Year. I mean,
he's rookie of the year.
He's had some great years.
Rookie of the year. That's what it was.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
He's just had a great. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is another one of those where it's like, we can't go wrong with it. But I'm going to defend Marshon. I just think he's a better player. I just do. You know what I mean? It's not really something crazy. Like, I don't really have a ton of reasoning behind it. I just think was the better player. I'm just going to stick to it right there. Yeah, I think he's just better. A little better. Now Denzel's great. Don't get me fucking wrong. That dude's a beast.
What's the separating edge betwing Marshon and Denzel?
Separating edge. I mean,
I'm asking a tough question.
You are.
Think.
I think Denzel's probably a little bit more athletic. I just think Marshon is a fucking dog, bro. I just do. I just think he's fucking Mr. Pick Six, dude. He just was fucking good.
Willie Cooker was Mr. Pick Six.
We're talking about corners, though.
I know. I know.
I'm just taking Marshon. I'm just taking him. I've seen them both play. I fucking watched every game. I'm just saying he's better.
And sometimes we look at some of the players, you're like, I just prefer
You're
this guy over that guy.
You
You don't have much else to say. You just prefer that guy over that guy. So
exactly. I mean, they're that
Brady.
good. Like it's
Brady.
Between these two, like you're splitting hairs. Like
that's a tough thing right there. Brady, why do you prefer Denzel Ward over Marshon Lattimore?
So this one obviously, like Matt said, is tough. I think so. So obviously, they're both two of the. They also have had both great pro careers too. So either have a case. Like, it's not like one fell off or anything. Both have been great. So what separated this for me is one factor. I even would probably say Marshon's a little better right now in the NFL, but it's close. I mean, but the reason I'm taking Denzel is because I think Marshon played with the greatest Ohio State secondary of all time, including Denzel. Denzel played in the slot that year, Marshon and Gary on the outside, then Malik Hooker at safety. I think Marshon didn't have as tough as a job as Denzel. And I think Denzel did it for a whole year as the CB1 with Kendall freaking Sheffield as the other corner, who I think somehow went in the second round. But anyways, Denzel was just a dog that year. I mean, he had barbecue back there and didn't invite Gus Johnson. He had an interception to completely swing the momentum in the Big Ten championship, which I called out Matt Saul, to a Wisconsin fan. You remember that, Matt?
I do remember that.
And I just think it's splitting hairs. There's really not a right or wrong answer, and neither is really more talented than the other one. But I do think it's interesting that we both had Jeff Okudah just solid in there. These two,
clearly, yeah, dude.
I think so too. I just
fucking shut down T. Higgins in that game, like locked his ass down. Like I will forever remember that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just him; it was other guys too. It wasn't like he just had one good game. Like he was just.
I know, but I'm just saying, like that's the type of shit that is ingrained in your mind. Like
that was his last game of his career. He did play good.
Yeah.
I miss Jeff. I miss these guys. Our corners suck now, so all this stuff. Denzel Burke versus Denzel Ward.
Oh boy, jeez, battle of Denzel, man, shit.
I'd probably go with Jair Brown, honestly.
Yeah, throwing out the random ones right there, but yeah, anything before we get on out of here with this, Brady, Matt, what anything?
I'm good.
I got one quick question. Sorry, I gotta say it before.
Cool.
So Chris Olave and Michael Thomas were probably receiver 4, and Terry McLaurin were probably the first 3 out.
That's
I mean, dude, it's so hard.
And I want to put my reasoning behind the reason I didn't put Mike in there is because I was having him and Marv match up since they're similar. The reason I didn't have Chris in there is because I was putting him and Garrett matched up because I was going to put them at like the same spot on that core. I would take Garrett by a little bit. And then JSN was solidly in there because I think he's more versatile. Terry was close. He was really good in college. Like clearly him and Paris were really good. But I think JSN just takes that.
There's so many people you could have put in here and been like
Devin Smith also. He was great in college.
Ohio State was 22-0 when Devin Smith caught a touchdown pass. Never was.
Ridiculous, man. And it's crazy to think like, you guys pick the same 3 receivers, but there's so much talent in that.
Dude, I mean,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
We didn't even have the one that had. I mean, now let's be real. I'm going to be real with it. But just crazy part here. The one out of the era that had the most catches is not even top 10. It's not even top 10.
Oh,
Isn't that crazy?
I'm glad
crazy though.
I'm glad you admitted that, but yeah, it is crazy because he was good.
Like he's borderline top 10 on that fucking list.
Even like Curtis Samuel kills him and
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The receiver that had the most catches of that era, of the entire history of the school, isn't even close to being on the list. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like that's how good it is. Like you go to anywhere else, it's not even close. Like he's going to be on the list. Like no, it's not even close here. So that's what's crazy.
Just to preface that, we're not even talking history, man. We're talking literally since 2012, man. Like it's unbelievable to think about. Obviously, wish we could have more national.
Shout out Zach Smith
with that. Yes, shout out Zach Smith, Brian Hartline, all that. But yeah, get up on out of here. I'm Chase Shots. It's Matt Ricketts, Brady King. We'll see you guys next episode.
Hell yeah.